Tomorrow night, England, Italy, Molineux, a quiet, empty Molineux tomorrow night, live on talkSPORT. The last time England met Italy was that fateful day at Wembley. For more on this, we're now joined by the Times chief football writer, Henry Winter. Henry, good morning.
Morning, Henry.
Morning, Henry.
Morning, Alan. Morning, Ray. Morning, Steve. Glorious day.
It is a glorious day. I tell you what, I'm just. This is going to be a strange one, isn't it? In Molineux, with just a couple of thousand kids or something, and that's it. It's not easy for the players. This one.
It's not, although a lot of them had unfortunate and long experience of the games behind closed doors during COVID. But look, the English, the FA deserve this after the scenes that we saw at Up Olympic Way and with fans breaking in before the European final. We can't sort of lecture foreign countries as we do, certainly in the media, and then not sort of accept punishment ourselves. And to be honest, I thought that England were heading for at least a 2-game ban. And of course, if England fans, there's trouble again in the future, UEFA will trigger that extra ban, because UEFA don't particularly like the English, particularly at the moment.
Henry, we know they've got a great squad, England, great attacking ability. Every single position they're covered. Maybe left back, you could be arguing that's where they're maybe lacking a little bit. But what sort of system do you think Gareth will go with? He went with a 4 against Germany. Before that, he went with a 3. What do you think suits England better?
He's a cautious manager, and he prefers the 3 at the back. Whether that's a reflection on his issues or England's issues at the back, but I just always think England look better with that extra body going forward. England's got so much attacking talent. I think the 4-2-3-1 which he played against Germany, although the Germans and particularly Kimmich and Musiala played exceptionally well against England, but I just think England look a bit more settled in that. I mean, the majority of the players play with a back 4. Their clubs, obviously the Chelsea boy and Conor Cody at Wolves don't, but 4-3-3. I just think England need to be on the front foot a little bit more. I agree with you at left back that that is a concern if Chilwell and Shaw come back in. Trippier, obviously, he's been a fantastic servant for England. He's played left back, he's played left wing back, he's played right wing back, he's played right back. He'll play anywhere for England. But I agree, left back is a concern. I just hope tomorrow we see Tammy Abraham, who's had such a fantastic season for Roma in Italy. Tammy Goal, as they call him. I went out to one of his games, and he's absolutely fated out there. They love him at the Olympic Stadium. 27 goals for Roma, +2 for England. I really would like to see him start. I understand the sort of, Harry Kane, he wants to play every game. Yeah. He's chasing down Wayne Rooney's records. I think they'd probably like to get it out the way before England actually get to the World Cup and can focus on the games there. But I definitely think it's a chance for Tammy tomorrow.
Henry, you talk about, you wrote about Jack Grealish, and he changed the game when he came on the other night, but you mentioned about Gareth being a cautious manager. Where does Grealish fit into this? And I'm of an opinion when it comes to the World Cup, Grealish has not sort of cemented his players into Pep Guardiola's Manchester City side. Could he be an asset in the World Cup because he's likely to be as fresher than some of the other players?
Well, that's an interesting point. Particularly with a World Cup halfway through the season, the players are going to be fresher. I mean, we've seen it towards the end of seasons. English players, have been slightly tired, but then so many players play in the Premier League that we can't just sort of pin it on the English. I think with Grealish, I still think that there is a doubt defensively for his work out of possession. That is clearly a doubt for Southgate. But as you said, you saw in the last 18 minutes of the Germany game when he came on, and Rudiger's been talking about this, about what an impact he has. But I think he goes to the World Cup, but I don't think he starts. I think it'll probably be Phil Foden on the left.
I read your piece yesterday, Henry, and fun enough, yesterday afternoon there was a few of us all chatting about, and you mentioned, as Harmy said, about cautious Gareth, and some are still will win nothing with Gareth, others saying no, look, we're progressing. Do you know what, I'd just like to see personally a little bit more adventure, and if they play three centre backs, wing backs, I'd love to see that midfield of Grealish, Foden, Rice and Mount, and Harry up there, and maybe Mount sparking off Harry Kane. I think England have got more chance of taking teams apart with a lineup like that than being cautious and perhaps win something.
I agree with you. And I mean, you look at you often find, you can go back to sort of Brazil in 1970, but a lot of the teams who win World Cups. They do slightly sort of grind their way to it. They do have a defensive, core. You think of Italy in 2006 with Cannavaro and players like that. So I slightly understand Southgate's mentality, and it had, that cautious, that 3-5-2, 3-4-3, call it what you want, got England to a semi-final in Russia at the World Cup, and obviously got England to the final last year. But I just think that to win it now, when you look at the way Argentina are playing and Brazil are playing, if England are going to go far into this tournament, and they could run into France early in the knockout stages, they're going to have to be more on the front foot. I agree with that. I wish they would slightly release the handbrake. When you've got players of the quality of Jude Bellingham, you don't want him sitting in front of a back five. You want him pushing on as he does for Dortmund, getting into the box, Lampard style. Obviously, different player, but he does have this athleticism and this judgment and this, this sort of vision and the touch as well. England have got some exceptional players. So Southgate's got to show that he can release the handbrake. Yeah. And also the key thing, which is what the top managers do, and he's the rung just below that, is they make the key changes in games, which he didn't do against Mancini in the second half of the final last year.
Yeah, also you just mentioned it earlier, Abraham. You've got to play him when a striker's in form like he is. You've got to get him on that pitch somehow. Even playing two up front. Do you think he'll ever do that? Play Harry Kane and Abraham? And because Kane can drop off into good areas and pick the ball up, and he's been brilliant for Spurs doing that.
He's been fantastic as a 10, as well as a 9. He can do that. I would be slightly surprised if he went with sort of almost an orthodox front two like that. I think when we did see Kane play in a 2, it was with Raheem Sterling during the World Cup, and he was they were sort of dropping off each other, and there was that movement. I think Tammy Abraham works best when he's up front on his own. He's got that pace. He can hold it up. He's got that pace to get through behind. I also think we've got to be careful with Harry Kane. He is he's a supreme athlete. He's totally dedicated to his profession, but at some point he does need this break, because it's going to be a long old season next season for Spurs as well as England.
Henry, just let me touch on, please, back of the Times this morning, CCTV of the final we're talking about in France and Paris. Chaos is wiped. So French officials are facing fresh criticism over the handling the Champions League final after it emerged that the images, the CCTV, have been destroyed a week after the game. This is shocking, isn't it?
It is shocking. I was there, and the images that I saw were very much of police losing control, of UEFA having no control, of the local organisers not knowing what to do, of Liverpool fans being kettled, gassed, and then assaulted by local gangs as they headed back to the metro afterwards, and also the scenes of Real Madrid fans being attacked by local youths as well. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see if the police, ever find any footage of that. But so far, Liverpool have had 9,000 people give testimony to what they saw, and the overwhelming evidence is a complete breakdown of organisation by UEFA, by the police, by the local authorities, and of the real disorder came from local youths.
Henry, Tim Sherwood told me that, and I had a friend who's a big Liverpool fan, said they were hiding under the bridges, they were in alleys, he said it was shocking, the amount of robberies, muggings, people just getting beaten up for nothing because they had red and white on. He said it was scary. I've never seen anything like it like that.
The extra problem you had there, Al, we all know what the Stade de France is like, and it's been known for its ambushes, is that a lot of the phones were actually on, so a lot of the tickets were on the digital, on mobile phones. So fans were obviously getting their phones out to show as they went through, and there were local kids coming through and pinching phones. And that's not one or two isolated incidents. There's the body of evidence is pretty conclusive.
Yeah. Henry, thank you very much.
Thanks, Henry.
Thanks for your time, Chief Football Writer. And you, Henry. Times Chief Football Writer Henry Winter there.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Alan Brazil. Thursday and Friday morning, 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.